Hi, this is the Get Real podcast where CEOs, CMOs, and communications experts share their real advice. I'm your host, Anna Crowe, and I'm excited to introduce our guest today, one of my good friends and forum mates, Helena. Hi, Helena. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
I'm excited you're here. In a few short sentences, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
So I'm Helena Gibson, and I am founder of Strut Hair Solutions and creator of the Seven Figure Salon Academy. So basically, with one business, we help women feel empowered and beautiful with hair if they're going through cancer treatments or alopecia, trichotillomania, or they just want more hair, like myself. And then with the Seven Figure Salon, we help salons go past the seven-figure mark because unfortunately most salon owners are still making minimum wage. They basically just own a job and we get them set free with financial freedom.
That's awesome. And I know you personally, so I know how busy you are with both of those businesses, but you know, your work is so amazing, especially the business where you help women that are going through such difficult times. So really,
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Yeah.
And what do you think is the best thing about being a leader in your space?
I feel like we are change makers in the space of my brick and mortar stores, because I have 2 locations for Strut. We make a difference in the way someone feels when they're battling cancer or have some kind of hair ailment. We give them that sense of self again, because it's their identity. And so leading in that is amazing because all of my colleagues kind of follow suit on what we do, and that makes me feel good. And same thing with the 7 figure. Actually, in the last year since I launched that with the Academy, I've seen like 4 or 5 other kind of coaching in the salon industry come up because I don't think that they realize that gap from just because you know how to do hair does not make you a good business owner. And we all got into that business to have financial freedom, to have more time so we can have our passion products. And really they end up being slaves behind the chair. And after they work, you know, because the goal is fill your books. Well, you get them filled, but yet you don't have any time for your family and you're exhausted, and then you're still not making the money that you want. So it feels good to be able to show these people how they can actually work less and make more money.
Awesome.
With just a few tweaks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And I love that such a part of your business is also helping other business owners be successful. And I know you create some great content that educates and lessons learned from your experience over the last, was it 20 years that you've been doing this?
20, I just hit 20 years. Yes. That makes me feel old, but yeah.
Well, you started when you were 2, so it's fine.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Congratulations. And speaking of leadership, you know, I hear from other successful leaders and executives that creating authentic connections, whether it's your customers or your employees, can be challenging with all the noise today, especially right now. There's just so much going on in the world. I'm curious, what's your take on that?
So what I told my girls, we just hit week 3 in our salons. And I told them to have grace with the clients and patience and realize that everybody's been home for the last 2.5, 3 months. And give them that little extra time so that they can share their story. We are going to be some of the first people that they will be in contact with. Of course, somebody make you feel good, right, about how you look. So we added an extra 15 minutes just so that the clients can kind of have that space. And I did the same with my staff. When we did our staff meetings with both locations, I had into the agenda like an extra 15 minutes so that the girls could share what they've been doing and what they've been going through. So I feel like if you just give people a little extra space right now, it really makes a huge difference.
That is a great idea and great advice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What other real advice would you like to share? Something else that you think is important?
The biggest thing that I saw with COVID was how many people were not prepared financially. I am very fortunate that when it happened and they said we were going to be closed a month or whatever, I didn't actually have to worry because I have money set aside for that rainy day, because it's always going to happen. And I couldn't believe how many of my peers were in panic mode when they even thought we were going to be closed for like 2 weeks. I'm like, dude, what if you went on vacation for 2 weeks? Like, what would you do? Or if, I don't know, any disruption to your business. So it was a huge lesson. And I'm actually trying to come up with like a program for my salons to Sometimes 3 months is unrealistic, what they say for a lot of people. But even if you had a month, so you have that, you don't have that anxiety if something disrupts, because it will disrupt. And COVID proved that.
Right. Absolutely. And I think a point on that is that it's going to continue to change and continue to be dynamic, right? Even next month, next 3 months, next 6 months, things are going to continue to evolve. So the more adapt you are to that change and the financially prepared you are, to your point, the better off, right?
Yeah, you can skip a Starbucks and put a little bit of money in there, especially now because none of us were out. So, if you still had some kind of income coming in, put that money away. It's okay to scale back a little for a minute. It'll give you peace of mind, at least for me. As a single mom, with my daughter and stuff, I always have to make sure I have that little net because I have somebody else depending on me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great advice. Well, before we get to our fun question, what other successful executives such as yourself would you like to shout out or think should be on this podcast?
I thought about that question, and I would have to say Jen Barnes. And I say that because I was inspired by her because she gave away in her business Optima Office, she gave away, I think it was 25 to 50 hours to all of us entrepreneurs to explore her services, to help with cash flow reporting. I ended up switching bookkeeping services to her. And I just thought that was a really neat way to use some of her PPP funds. And she's just ingenious and really there to help. And so I would shout out to her, and also Dan Yates, because he made that PP loan process so easy. He is like the best banker in San Diego. So that's Endeavor Bank. And those two they really just stepped up in front for everybody. And I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, that's so awesome. It's so good. They, like you said, they both came together in a time of need to help others. And knowing them both, I think those are great recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, then our final question is more of a fun question. I always love to have a more insight as to where people came from career standpoint. So could you tell us a little bit about your first job? It could be your first career job, your first business, or just a job you did, in high school or earlier.
Actually started earlier. I think this story. My mom was in network marketing, like every MLM you can imagine. So when I was 8, I used to vacuum the Avon Center. So she sold Avon, and I got paid to go in there, their little local center, and clean that up. So she started me very young in sales and multi-level marketing, and which kind of went on to where I always have some kind of side hustle of, whether it's isogenics or something like that, through that. And then my first real job was at Baskin Robbins, and I made it 2 weeks, and I made $4.25 an hour.
Just 2 weeks? What happened?
I gained like 5 pounds because they gave us free cappuccino blast. That was in 1993, and the cappuccino blast came out, and the owner was so sweet. She's like, "Oh, honey, you can drink as many as you want," which I did, and then I said, "Oh, this is never gonna work," so I had to go.
That's amazing.
So I've never worked in food since.
Yeah, it's funny. One of my first jobs was at Friendly's on the East Coast, and similarly, you can make all the milkshakes you want. And it was, not a great idea for a teenage girl.
No,
but learn a lot. You definitely learn a lot about customer service and all of that. But as long as you can control yourself. Experience. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I can't in the food environment. So we learned that lesson early.
Nice. Very cool. Well, Helena, how can people get a hold of you? How can they find you?
Okay, so they can visit us at struthairsolutions.com if they'd like to have a virtual consultation or come into one of our stores about how more hair could help them. And the sevenfiguresalon.com if they know any salon owners that want to increase their business and get some tips and tricks during this time and what we're doing with our reopening and so forth, they can find us there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. It was an honor.
Awesome. Well, this is Anna Crowe with the Get Real podcast. For more insights, visit us at crowepr.com. Thanks so much and make it a great day.